Hello, everybody. It is 2 p.m. It is I, Mr. Aaron. Oh, just had a button come undone. And we are back for some more reading awesomeness. Now, you may notice my background is a little different today. And the reason my background is a little different today is because I am actually broadcasting from inside the library. That's right. We are back for curbside service now. It's pretty awesome. So if you have any physical library items that you have just been dying to get your hands on, you can go to sweetwaterlibraries.com or call the libraries to place your holds. But in the meantime, we are continuing with the adventures of Hank the Cowdog in the case of the missing cat. Now, you may remember when we left off last time, Hank was in the middle of a bet with Pete the Barn Cat, who'd given him 3 chances to catch the lumber pile bunny, or Hank would have to give up his place as head of ranch security. And so far, Hank has failed 2 out of his 3 tries. He has 1 try left. And he was just lamenting about the untrustworthiness of rabbits when we left off last time, so that is where we are picking up today. Rabbits cheating. Rabbits lying. Well, a guy can't just quit or resign from life or crawl under his gunny sack and hide from all the meanness and ugliness. He's got to come back and strike a few blows for honesty and decency. And that's where I found myself after going through several minutes of spiritual heartburn and moral agony. I couldn't change the world, fellers, or put all the bad guys out of business or spare the little children from the mess we'd made of the world. All I could do was catch that stupid, stinking, sniveling, sneaking, counterfeit little rabbit who had made a fool out of me not once, but twice, and teach him an important lesson about lying and cheating. What a fool I'd been. I'd played the role of Mr. Nice Dog, and what had it gotten me? Okay, he wanted to play games with me, so we'd play games. But we were fixing to play my game. Here's the crutch of the whole matter. I'll reveal it if you promise not to blab it around. See, that rabbit was more devious than I'd ever supposed. He'd made that loop out into the pasture, knowing all along that I'd follow him. But suppose that I didn't follow him. Just suppose that instead of my running my legs off out into that pasture, I took a shortcut through the corrals and was standing in front of the lumber pile when he came hopping up. Pretty awesome, huh? Let me tell you something. I hadn't been named head of ranch security strictly on my good looks, although that had been a big factor. A dog's mind is a scary thing, and moral indigestion is a powerful force. Put them together, and you have something that is truly awesome. Okay, here we go. I rose from my gunny sack bed, just as I had done before, and began the pursuit phase of the procedure. The bunny ran. I chased. We headed out into the pasture and began the sucker phase. I was watching the rabbit very carefully this time, don't you see? And when he stopped looking back over his shoulder, I altered my compass heading, veered off hard to the right, and went zooming straight for the corral fence. As I approached the fence, I did one last instrument check, allowing for wind and so forth. I would arrive at the lumber pile 3 seconds before the victim. All systems were go. All I had to do now was perform what we call an under-the-bottom board maneuver, a fairly simple and routine procedure in which your cow dog approaches a corral fence at top speed and darts under your bottom 2x6 board without crunch. Lurking with the myrtle pork chop snickle fritz, aimed a wee bit high on that one. Swimming in molasses, the stars came out, Gortberg snark, and gathered myself up off the... I became aware of a throbbing pain in my head. My neck was badly cricked, and someone had removed my legs and installed a new set made of rubber. The earth was turning in an odd direction, and I found it hard to stand in one spot. It appeared that I had, or shall we say that my instruments had, failed me at the very crucial point in the maneuver. And once your entire guidance system has gone on the fritz, laughter? Did I hear? Yes, the cowboys. Laughing, howling, leaning against the saddle shed, doubled over, slapping their thighs. They had been spying on me, had watched the entire incident. Did they rush out with ice packs or bandages or even an encouraging word? Oh, no. Everything's a big joke with them. Go get that little rabbit, Hanky, one of them yelled. I don't remember which one. It doesn't matter. I don't care. One's as bad as the other. Neither one shows much sensitivity to tragic situations. Sick 'em, boy, said the other, and he was brought to his knees by a convulsion of childish laughter. So there I was, not only badly injured from wounds received on a combat mission, not only wrecked and deformed and partly crippled, but also mocked and scorned by the very people I had sworn my cowdog oath to protect. Maybe you think I had hit the absolute bottom, that I couldn't sink any deeper, I should say. Well, maybe you think that everything bad that could have happened to me had happened to me. If that's what you think, then you've forgotten that I had wagered my job as head of ranch security and had lost the wager. In other words, fellers, not only had I lost my job, but it had been won by Pete, the barn cat. Now, that's what I'd call a pretty scary thought. Chapter 5, Humble Pie Stinks. Well, the cowboys got a real lift out of my disaster. I mean, it just about made their whole day. After howling and chuckling and slapping their knees and rolling around in the dirt, they finally ran out of excuses for loafing and had to go back to work. I know that broke their hearts. And don't forget that if they had hauled off that pile of junk lumber in the first place, there would have been no lumber pile, and therefore no lumber pile bunny. Hence, by simple logic, we see that the cowboys were actually to blame for the entire incident, which didn't make my broken neck or damaged head feel one bit better, but it's always nice to share the blame with someone else. I mean, sharing is a very important thing in this old life. Furthermore, there is a wise old saying about people who laugh at the misfortunes of others. He who laughs first, he who laughs last, he who laughs in the middle. Well, there is this wonderful, wise old saying about people laughing, but I think we'll skip it for now. It's a real good, wise old... never mind. I went limping back to the gas tanks. I mean, I had just suffered one of the worst setbacks of my career and had lost just about everything that was dear to me. But I still had my old gunny sack bed. That was the one thing they couldn't take away from me. It was my place of refuge, the spot from whence I could launch myself into sweet dreams about Beulah and feats of greatness. No matter what happened to me, that old gunny sack would always be there to welcome me home. I dragged myself toward the gas tanks, hoping with all my heart that Pete wouldn't see me. I'm never anxious to see Pete, but this time I was even less anxious than usual. Luck was with me for a change, and Pete did not appear. At last I could see it. My gunny sack, my friend. It was waiting for me, calling my name, ready to embrace the folds of my tired and worn body, ready to launch me into... A cat in my bed? A grinning face with partially hooded eyes rose up from my gunny sack. It's Hanky the cowdog. Isn't this a wonderful coincidence? I summoned up just enough energy to issue a short growl. Get out of my bed, cat, before Don't say anything you'll regret, Hanky. You haven't forgotten our little wager, have you? Did I think to mention that down deep in my heart, I don't approve of betting or wagering or gambling of any kind. I mean, I might have forgotten to... You forgot to mention that, Hanky. Yes. Oh, well, it just slipped my. It must have slipped your mind, Hanky. Exactly. And I'm sure the same thing has happened to you a time or two. You get caught up in something, excited and so forth, and before you realize you've made a stupid mistake. Right. Well, stupid is pretty harsh. A dumb mistake? Yes, right, exactly. A dumb mistake. Or call it a hasty decision, or it could be that you misunderstood my true meaning, see? And you might have thought that I was making a foolish wager. I did, Hanky. I certainly did. When in fact, the record will show that I was. Only words. Really? Honest? Pete stretched out on my gunny sack and made himself right at home. I could hear him purring. Oh, and that tail of his was sticking straight up in the air. So you're saying that you didn't intend to make the bet, is that right, Hanky? Right. Yes, and I'll be the first to admit it, Pete. I was misquoted, and I'll have to take full responsibility for my actions. Because if I hadn't opened my big mouth, I never would have been misquoted in the first place. And as far as I'm concerned, we can chalk the whole thing up to experience. I mean, it's been a painful lesson for me. And why are you shaking your head? No deal, Hanky. By no deal, you mean no deal? I mean, Hanky, that we made a bet and you lost. Oh, I see. Well, let me hasten to. And I'm ready to collect, Hanky. Huh? Collect? You mean. Well, now, wait a minute, Pete. You can't do this to me. Fair is fair, Hanky. I know that fair is fair. I've said that many times myself, but you can't do this to me. He grinned and purred and flicked his tail back and forth. Oh, yes, I can, Hanky. I won, you lost. I'm ready for you to pronounce me head of ranch security. I won't. I can't. I began pacing. Listen, Pete, we can cut a deal, just you and me right now. How about this? You'll be my first assistant. Hey, wouldn't that be great? And what about Drover? Ha! He's out. Through, finished, fired. I mean, just you and me, Pete. Just the two of us. A team for the future. No, thank you. Huh? Okay, listen to this. Dog food. All you can eat for 3 days. I'll pass on the dog food, Hanky. Oh, good thinking, pal. I don't blame you, but here comes the killer deal of the century. I winked and leaned forward. Bones, Pete. You give me a number and I'll deliver the goods. He yawned. Oh, I don't think so, Hanky, because bones hurt my teeth. Oh, good point. I hadn't thought of that. Okay, we'll dig a little deeper in the old Hanky. Had you thought of begging for your job? Huh? Begging? Well, no, actually, I hadn't thought of begging. Sort of goes against my grains, don't you see? Well, you might try it and see what happens. He studied his claws. I've never been tested before, and who knows? It might just be my weak spot. I see. Begging. Could you give me some odds and percentages? I mean, I wouldn't want to go into a begging situation without knowing I'm sure you understand. Yes, I understand, Hanky. I mean, it would be very painful. Oh, I know it would hurt so bad. Right, which is why I'd like to know 50-50. 50-50, which is only slightly better than average. That's the best I can offer, Hanky. Okay, well, 50-50 beats 40-40, and you said beg? Just hop on your back legs and beg, and we'll see what happens. I coughed and cleared my throat, paced back and forth, scratched my ear, paced some more, wrestled with this heavy decision. Oh, this is very difficult for me, Pete. I hope you understand that, and I mean very difficult and painful. But if this is what it takes to... I don't look forward to this, Pete. It's going to be humiliating, and I've never... My patience is wearing thin, Hanky. Right, okay. So the best thing for me to do is just... Only for you would I do this, Pete, so watch carefully. Against all my cowdog instincts, I hopped up onto my back legs and brought my front paws into the begging position. There we go. What do you think of this, Pete? His smile went sour. Something's missing, Hanky. It just doesn't move me. Okay, what is missing is this little flourish, which we call moving the paws while begging. You'll love it, Pete. It's going to knock your socks off. Watch close. I did the maneuver, which is very difficult, by the way, and very few of your ordinary dogs have the muscle tone and coordination to pull it off. There you are, Pete. That's the whole show. Pretty impressive, huh? You ever see anything quite... You're shaking your head again, Pete, and I'm wondering what that means. Oh, Hanky, I'm afraid it didn't work, and just drat the luck. Drat the... It didn't... Well, now, wait a minute. Are you saying that you're not going to call off the bet? After I lowered myself and humbled myself and make myself look like an idiot? The grin sped all the way across his mouth, and his eyes brightened. Yes, I'm afraid so, Hanky, but nice try anyway. Now you may pronounce me head of ranch security. At last, the pieces of the puzzle began falling into place. I had been duped and humiliated, and now I was fixing to be stripped of my rank. I lowered my front paws to the ground and glared at him. I should have known better than to do business with a cat. He nodded his head. You'll regret this, Pete. Fair is fair, Hanky. I took a gulp of air and plunged into the terrible unknown. Very well. I pronounce you head of ranch security, and I hope you get a big ringworm right where you sit down. Thank you, Hanky. Your unhappiness means more to me than I can possibly express. Fine. Now get out of my bed. My bed. It goes with the job. My mind was reeling. My head was pounding. My body was begging for rest. I didn't have the energy to argue. All right, Pete, you've got it all. My job, my pride, and now my bed. You win, I'm whipped. The ranch is yours. And with that, I turned and limped away from my bedroom, my home, and the gunny sack that had been my last friend in the world. Chapter 6. The Case of the Disheartened Chicken. I dragged myself up to the machine shed. Drover was there, sleeping on the cement pad in front of the big double doors. I needed a friend to talk to, fellers, and I mean I was at the bottom of my luck. On another occasion, I might have chosen a friend with more wealth, influence, and brains than Mr. Stubtail, but this wasn't another occasion. Yes, Drover had his flaws and his shortcomings, but after working beside the little mutt for years, I knew in my heart that if he was the only dog available, I would choose him to be my best friend. This was his lucky day. Drover, I don't want to alarm you, but the very worst thing that could possibly happen has just happened. Please don't panic. Screaming and running in circles isn't going to help the situation. I've come to inform you that I have gambled away my future and ruined my life. I'll be leaving soon to spend the rest of my miserable years living in ditches and gutters. I know this must come as a terrible shock. All I ask is that... Wake up, you idiot! Can't you see that I'm pouring out my heart to you? He raised up and stared at me. His eyes were crossed, his ears were on crooked, and his tongue was hanging out the left side of his mouth. Oh, gosh, who's going to clean up all that blood? Blood? What blood? He staggered to his feet.
I can't stand the sight of blood. Where am I?
His eyes began to focus.
Oh, hi, Hank. I must have dozed off. Did you hear about the murder?
Murder? No, what happened? And that is where we are going to leave off for today, guys. So we will continue with the case of the missing cat. We'll find out about this mysterious murder that Drover has just informed us of tomorrow at 2 p.m. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you'll join me for more Hank the Cowdog tomorrow. And once again, we are back in business for curbside service. So if you have physical items you've just been dying to get your hands on, go to sweetwaterlibraries.com or call the library to post your holds. And, of course, don't forget that you can still access our digital resources through sweetwaterlibraries.com to get content through your devices as well. Thanks so much, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.